Hello, and welcome to the Senior Care Channel here on Roku TV. Thank you for tuning in. My name is George Roach. I'm an elder law and estate planning attorney with over 30 years experience in this field. In a previous program, we talked about what we consider to be the gold standard for estate planning purposes, a little device we call the irrevocable living trust. Today's program, I'd like to follow up on some of the other important planning aspects for people who may be disabled or have disabled children or other disabled relatives. I spent 30 years of my career working for the Legal Aid Society here in Suffolk County, New York. But I didn't do any criminal work. I was the chief attorney for the Senior Citizens Division of the Legal Aid Society. We were funded under the Older Americans Act from Congress, and there was no financial means test, and essentially anybody 60 years of age or older can avail themselves of the program and get the legal advice, counseling, and representation, and that's what I did for 30 years. And in that time span, I became very familiar with a lot of the federal programs and state programs that are out there that people can avail themselves of. Medicaid, Social Security Disability, SSI, Supplemental Security Income, the levels that are required, the transfer rules that are required to become eligible for these programs. And they've served me well in that I now carry them over into private practice in areas where many of the practitioners don't have that familiarity with the government programs. They've heard of them, but they really don't understand them. And one of the big needs I see among the senior population and people in general is where people have disabilities, either physical disabilities and or combined with mental disabilities, psychological problems that people may have, whether it's the result of a medical malpractice action when the child was born. They just don't have the adult competence. And one of the big areas that I see, very simply where senior citizens don't give it a thought, is husband and wife have a disabled child. They may have some other siblings, all right, who are considered normal, all right, and graduated from high school and went on to college, and now they're adults. But with the special needs children, they've cared for those children or child all along, has lived with them, and it can be quite a cross to bear. No question about it. And you've done your best, but what happens is, as this child, special needs child, turns 18 years of age, chronologically, under the law, they are an adult, chronologically, although they might not be anywhere near competent as an adult would be. They may have the education level or the IQ maybe of a 10 or 12-year-old, or less sometimes, that I've seen. And a very difficult situation to care for a child like this. Now, what should be first and foremost in the parent's mind is the child has aged out, as they say, aged out. They're 18 years of age. It is necessary for the parents to become the legal guardians of those children or that child. And how do you do that? Basically, here in New York, we call it an Article 17A guardianship. Article 17A of our Surrogates Court Procedure Act provides that parents can go into the Surrogates Court, file a petition to be appointed the legal guardian for their special needs child, for whatever reason the child has a special needs, and become the legal guardian for them. It's a pretty pro forma process. It's not that difficult. A lot of people can do it on their own. And not only do you get appointed guardian, obviously mother and father want to be appointed the guardian of that child, but they can also provide for a standby guardian of that child, just in case as they age out and maybe pass away, it's going to get to the point where there will be nobody around to be the legal guardian of that child. given their special needs. It's a real burden to shoulder, but it's a very, very important planning consideration when you have a special needs child. So one of the devices, and most special needs children, by the way, especially if they're in a group home or they're on a program called SSI, Supplemental Security Income. SSI is a program, a federal government program, whereby it is for people with either low or no income at all, and because of their disability, have to reside with somebody else, many times the parents. So you can have a child on SSI who gets a limited amount of funds. Now, one of the beauties of the SSI program is that once somebody is found eligible for SSI, Supplemental Security Income, they are automatically eligible for Medicaid here in the state of New York. They back into the Medicaid program by virtue of the fact the resource levels for SSI are actually lower than they are for Medicaid itself. Right? For Medicaid itself, here in the state of New York, and we talked about this in a prior program, you are considered poor enough for the program to be eligible for Medicaid when you have two things left to your name. You can have $14,400 in what they call countable assets and resources. And the second thing you can have is a prepaid funeral. And most funerals here in New York, depending on the casket you purchase, range somewhere between $10,000 and $15,000 in addition to the $14,000 you're entitled to have. That's when you're considered poor enough for the Medicaid program here in New York, and that's by the way, is the same poor enough whether you need community Medicaid, where there are no transfer rules, or you need a nursing home, where there's that 5-year look-back period on the transfer of assets and exceptions for the spouse and disabled children that we talked about in a prior program. Now, people on SSI, you can only have $2,000 in countable assets and resources, as opposed to the $14,400 that you can have for Medicaid itself. So people who are SSI eligible with either no or low income because they simply don't have a work record for eligibility, they weren't able to hold down a job and be a functional member of society at some point, the SSI program is there for them. So SSI says, all right, if you're SSI eligible, you automatically get Medicaid. You back into the program, so at least you have some kind of medical coverage. Now, one, you have to be appointed guardian once these children turn 18 years of age or older. And secondly, what are your options as to planning for them? Years ago, your options were very limited. If somebody was on an SSI program getting Medicaid, if they either inherited property, you had 3 children, and you left them their third share of the property, one, they couldn't legally deal with it. A guardian had to be appointed by the court for them, and essentially they lost their government benefits. They were kicked off SSI, they were kicked off Medicaid because now they had property. They were over the resource level, so their only choice was to spend that property down on their medical needs until it was all gone. And medical needs can make property go real quickly, all right? So that was one choice. The other choice you were left with was to cut them out altogether and say, look, I have 3 children, one of them is a special needs child, I'm going to disinherit that special needs child and leave his or her share to the other 2. All right? And that's kind of a hard choice to do. And over the years that I've been at this, we've come to a middle ground. And now the device we use for people with special needs is a trust called a special needs trust, or sometimes it is also referred to as a supplemental needs trust. Supplemental needs, special needs, to address that issue. And essentially what you can do is you can fund the trust, and the same trust principles apply. You can take property, put it in this box for the benefit of the person with the special needs. That property is there in the language of the special needs trust itself. The language specifically says that property is to be used to supplement their needs and not supplant the government benefits that they're receiving. We don't want to see them kicked off the government programs that they so vitally need to rely on for their existence. Right? So the property goes into a special needs trust. Usually the parent or one of the other siblings will be the trustee, or sometimes the trustee can be a not-for-profit organization. There are many not-for-profits out there that are willing to be the trustees of the Supplemental Needs Trust. And essentially, the trustee, the person who runs the trust, who has the key to the box, that person uses that property for the benefit of the disabled person. So, to give you some examples, it just depends on how creative the trustee can be. Okay? Very simply, you have somebody who was a victim, let's say, of medical malpractice at an early age when they were born, and now maybe has the mental capacity of a 10 or 12-year-old. And you know and I know, you look at them and say, this is as good as it's going to get. All right? It's not going to be any better. Well, what do we do with that 10 or 12-year-old, all right, to enhance the quality of their life? Well, they like to visit Disney World. All right? They can't get there by themselves, so they have to have a plane ticket. Somebody has to accompany them because they can't go on their own. And these are all the things you can do with the property that's in a special needs trust. The person is disabled in a wheelchair. They need to get around. They need transportation. If they can drive, customize a van so they can get their wheelchair in and out with a ramp. All right? A lot of things you can do with the special needs trust. And a lot of the judges who oversee the creation of these special needs trusts are very attuned to the fact that although they are considered special needs people, they have regular wants and needs like the rest of us. Entertainment, travel, vacations, and they will approve that type of expenditure from the Special Needs Trust, and they still continue to receive their government benefits, their SSI and their Medicaid. We don't want to see them lose it. So that's the middle ground, the Special Needs Trust, the Supplemental Needs Trust. And it's a very, very important part of planning that an elder law attorney should be aware of. Now, not all elder law attorneys specialize in the special needs planning. So it's one of the things you have to, when you're inquiring of an elder law attorney, many, many different topics and areas that they practice in, and we'll be talking about them in future programs. Social Security Disability, Medicare, SSI. We're going to talk about elder abuse scams and things of that nature, and how to protect yourself against them. So, you know, you want to keep tuning in as these topics come up. But for the special need, the person with the special needs, then you should be looking at a supplemental needs trust. All right? Very, very important. I've done a lot of them myself, and the need for it. And you see a lot more, there's a lot more people out there than you think with special needs children. So you want to have their needs at hand when you consider their planning. Okay? How do you go about choosing an elder law attorney? Good question. One of two things. Most local bar associations have an elder law committee. It's a real specialty. But 30 years ago, when I started with the Legal Aid Society, we didn't call it elder law. We called it poverty law, because we were dealing with Medicaid and the Social Services Department. And along the way, as society has aged demographically, we're an aging society. And as older people age, myself included, the needs change. And all of a sudden, this area of helping older people protect their property, protect their person, enjoy their life, became a real specialty. And we call it elder law. And in our bar association right here, and I'm a past president of the Suffolk County Bar Association, the largest committee in our bar association is the Elder Law Committee. All right? So one of the ways you choose a good elder law attorney is your local bar association. If you're living in the state of Florida, Broward County, Dade County, and many, many counties, just local bar association in the county in which you reside. In North Carolina, Durham County, Wake County, Brunswick County, you name it. That's one way to go about it. The second way to choose a good elder law attorney, and it's one of the professional organizations we all belong to, is called NAELA. N-E-A-L-A. Pardon me. N-A-E-L-A. N-A-E-L-A stands for the National Academy of Elder Law Attorneys. And you can probably, if you have access to a computer, go to naela.com, C-O-M, and you'll get the organization's website. They're located in Vienna, Virginia. And I can tell you, any elder law attorney worth his or her salt is a member of NAELA. It's our national organization. They provide a directory of all the elder law attorneys throughout the United States. A lot of times, because of the Florida-New York connection, people ask me, I need an elder law attorney in Florida. Well, where do you live? Okay, and they'll tell me the town. I would literally send them the 8 pages of Florida attorneys listed in the NAELA directory, listed by town, location, and city. Their telephone numbers there, and NAELA provides for a certification. You know, they give testing, continuing legal education, so people can be certified, and you can come up with somebody in your local area, hopefully, that you don't have to travel miles to get to. And that's throughout the 50 states. So one of the things you want to make sure is you can contact NAELA, or you can contact your local bar association and get an elder law attorney with experience, and that's the important thing. How many years have they been at this? And I've been at this for more years than I care to remember. But you want to make sure they have the experience and they belong to the right professional organizations. They're a member of their local bar association, elder law committee, state bar association, the New York State Bar Association. We have an elder law section. You belong to that because the seminars they put on in this field are excellent. All right, you have to stay on top of the topic just like everybody else to be able to do the work. So thank you, and continue to tune in.